Hello, we are back. We are returning. I'm going to be playing Call of Cthulhu tonight. We shall be playing Alone Against the Tide, a solo adventure for Cthulhu. I have decided to use the character which comes with the game. I have printed the both of them are statistically exactly the same. Their backstories are slightly different. I have printed Eleanor Woods, who is, I shall read out about Eleanor. Eleanor is a white woman with heavily tanned skin, dark hair and brown eyes, wears a smart skirt suit with a lace collared blouse and a straw tam o'shanter hat. That doesn't look like a straw tam o'shanter hat to me. I don't know what one is, but I don't think it's that. Which looks at odds with her otherwise smart clothing. Fortune, so her ideology beliefs. Fortune favours the mind, the prepared mind. Significant people. Her old friends at Boston 9. Eleanor may have left her days of crime behind her, but when she got an education, you never really leave a gang behind. I didn't read that correctly. Meaningful locations: Boston, the city she calls home. Treasured possessions: the research manuscript she's been working on for over a year now. Eleanor hopes it will win her academic acclaim. Her traits are inquisitive and ambitious. Her gear and possessions are a smart skirt suit, lace coloured blouse, straw tam o'shanter hat, thin briefcase containing a research manuscript, a change of undergarments, that's a nice touch, perhaps because it's Cthulhu she'll need them, and a few essential toiletries. Excuse me. She has a spending level of $50, cash of $300, and assets worth $30,000. I was asked to put an additional 70 points into different skills, and so I put an additional 30 into charm, an additional 20 into fast talk. I think it was an additional 5 into handguns, and an additional 15 into spot hidden. And that's Eleanor Woods. So we will begin. I don't think there's... Oh, and I rolled my luck, and I got from memory a 3, a 1 and a 6 being 10, which by times 5 is 50, so I have 50 luck points. That's it really. The beginning of the book goes through various different basic processes. This adventure is designed to lead you through the basic rules of character creation in Call of Cthulhu as you play entries 12 and 80. You'll be directed to them by the text once you start the scenario. Just ignore the comments in the text about creating a new character. So we'll read those bits, but we'll ignore them when it says about creating a new character. Oh, I need to get my starter set dice out. Not that we need them yet, but we'll get them out now just in case. I have my pencil, I have my eraser or rubber, depending on where you originate from. The entries are numbered between 1 and 243. We've done this before when Peter Hawthorne died at the hands of villagers, unless you haven't seen that yet, but he's dead anyway. Start. Alone Against the Tide. Our story begins sometime in the 1920s. On the pier opposite the lakeside resort town of Aylesbury, Massachusetts. Your investigator's reasons for visiting the town are discussed in the relevant entries. Read through the introduction and getting started sections and gather everything you need. Then, when you're ready to begin play, go to number 1. Discussed in the relevant entries. What are the relevant entries? Don't know. 1. The sun sinks low on the horizon as you board the ferry headed across the lake to Esbury. As you set foot on the boat, the ferryman greets you with a wide smile and a cheery wave. He stands by the gangplank as you pass, welcoming the other passengers as he removes his cap to scratch at his balding head. His pudgy figure fills his well-worn suit. He looks a little awkward, but he seems a rather pleasant sort. Leaving the man behind you, you take a seat towards the prow, eyes fixed on your destination. Go to 12. You settle into a seat with your thin briefcase resting on your lap, noticing that the rest of the passengers are likewise getting themselves comfortable for the short trip across the lake. Glancing around, you catch sight of the ferryman entering the cabin. As you sit patiently and wait for the engine to come to life, you listen to the sounds of idle chatter around you. You look out across the water and notice a thin fog beginning to form over the surface as the temperature drops with the approach of night. After a few minutes, you hear the engine splutter into action and feel the ferry lurch forwards. The conversations around you continue as the ferryman joins you all on deck. You can't help overhearing most of the talk, though it's surprisingly banal. There are almost a dozen passengers on the ferry. Most of them are simply looking to spend their money during the weekend in Esbury, and to enjoy the various shops and leisure activities the lakeside town has to offer. Many of the passengers seem to come from money, as is common in Esbury. You notice a strange look from one of the women in the group. She has a full figure and brown hair and eyes. She seems to be looking you over, admiring your features. If you create your own adventurer, blah 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 blah. If you're using a pre-generated investigator, Dr. Woods, take a look at how their characteristics have been assigned. The half and fifths have already been calculated for you. If you need more information about that, we don't, go to 80. The woman clearly sees something in you that she likes. Perhaps it's your looks or a glint of intelligence in your eyes. She gives you a sly wink before turning back to her companions. You likewise turn your attention to the rest of the passengers. Sitting apart from the general crowd are two men in dark, well-tailored suits, whispering quietly to each other. They have unamused expressions on their faces, as if they don't seem to be pleased to be here. Perhaps they're on business? Noticing that you're sitting alone, the ferryman approaches you and stands over you with his characteristic smile. You notice he's missing a tooth in the upper left-hand corner of his mouth. His eyes are bright and they light upon you. "Good afternoon. You look a bit lonely there, friend. What brings you to Esbury?" If you're creating your own investigator, it's now time to choose an occupation. If you're a professor or you have chosen to play Dr. Woods, go to 23. You mentioned the passing of a distant colleague in Esbury and how you've been sent by Miss Scatonic to recover his work and bring it back to the university. The man sighs and nods slowly. "Oh, you mean Professor Harris? Real shame about what happened to him. Always seemed like a nice man. Officer Power says they're still cleaning up the mess at the professor's place. But some of the more valuable bits will probably be at the estate sale tonight, if you're really wanting at it." Shall I read that again? "You mean Professor Harris? Real shame what happened to him. Always seemed like such a nice man. Officer Powell says they're still cleaning up the mess at the professor's place. But some of the more valuable bits will probably be at the estate sale tonight, if you're really wanting at it." The man looks down at his hands for a moment, and then back at you as he extends one your way. "Anyway, I'm Lance Sanford. Pleased to meet you. But I wish it were under better circumstances, eh?" To inquire about Professor Harris, to inquire about Officer Powell, to ask Lance Sanford about himself, to ask about the estate sale, to pass time waiting to... No, I think we should ask about Professor Harris. Like, when he says mess, does he mean the professor was a mess or the house was a mess? 27. We're going to ask about the professor. The ferryman raises a questioning eyebrow at you. "Professor Harris? Can't say much, really. Didn't know him all that well, but he seemed like a nice guy. I was sad to hear what he died. That he died. You gently press for more information about his death. Sanford frowns, but answers. Officer Powell says it's suicide. I'm inclined to believe him. But Professor Harris always seemed happy enough to me. More than content to relax in Esbury like anyone else. In between his studies, of course. Ancient Indian history, I think it was. Or would he say were? I think it were. I had coffee with the officer a few weeks ago, and he talked my ear off about it. I couldn't understand half of what he said, but he was quite excited by whatever it was. I promise I will try practicing some American accents and get the hang of it. I was kind of mentally toying with it earlier today. I was just about to crack into a sort of Texan accent, which I think is the easiest really, but I'll try a different dialect. There's some stuff on YouTube about it. Isn't everything on YouTube? You exchange a few more pleasantries with Sanford before he goes off to finish guiding the boat into port. You pass the time in casual conversation with the other passengers, and in observing the scenery, you note that the tall pines and the sloping hills along the lake shore around Esbury. These features, and the small town beyond, are just visible through the growing mist, but squinting helps you make them out to your satisfaction. In time you arrive on the pier at Esbury, grateful to be off the water. Go 2, 3. They've got brackets with all of these numbers underneath. Maybe that's where you came from, to help you go back to where you were. I'll show you. Underneath. They're good. You take your first steps onto the pier with the rest of the ferry passengers, trying to get your land legs once again. You weren't on the boat that long. The passengers still chat casually as they walk off to their destinations. You note one last little flirty wink from the full-figured woman as she struts along confidently behind the women accompanying her, and you feel the two dark-suited men push past you at a brisk pace, nudging you out of their way. Sanford gives you one last wave and a smile as he begins tending to the old rust-stained boat that is his pride and joy. The last light of the sun is fading fast, and the fog is growing thick on the water now. The night's still young, but you'd rather not be wandering around in the dark and the fog of the town that you're quite unfamiliar with. Taking in your surroundings, you see a sizable crowd jockeying for entrance into a lavish, modern-looking building along the lakeside. A folding sign sits out front, illuminated by a lantern. The words, "Estate Sale Tonight," are written on it in large, bold letters. While this seems to be the main attraction, you could also seek out somewhere to stay for the night and set about your work in the morning. If you've not done so already, calculate your secondary attributes as page 7. To visit the estate sale, go to 15. To find somewhere to stay for the night, go to 26. I think it might be interesting to go and have a look at the estate sale. I mean, we don't have to stay for very long. We can look for somewhere to stay afterwards, but if we go somewhere else first, we might miss all the good stuff. That was visit the estate sale 15. So there should be 3. There is a 3 in brackets, that's what it is. Pushing through the crowd, you make your way towards the estate sale. Judging by the number of people packed into the dance hall, this seems to be quite the event. Most of the people here are well dressed, with conspicuous amounts of jewellery and designer clothing on display. You see a broad-shouldered man in a policeman's uniform standing by the door. That must be Officer whatever his name was. Powell? He has a scarred yet clean-shaven face and a baton at his side. His brow is furrowed in a serious expression, and he watches the commotion through narrow eyes. As you mingle with the assorted academics and collectors, you notice a few other faces that stand out in the crowd. Most immediately you spot a man in a flowing orange robe with tawny skin. He seems more than a little out of place, and is garnering some odd looks from the other guests. Glancing around further, you happen to notice the 2 dark-suited gentlemen from earlier standing in a corner towards the front of the room. They talk to a young, dark-haired man in a dated yet rather elegant long coat. He is of a slight build and has rather sharp features. A thin wisp of a moustache hangs beneath his nose. Most noticeable, though, is a rather attractive young woman standing on stage at the front of the room next to a bespeculate, he wears glasses, old man, long black hair cascading down her shoulders, accenting her pale features and complementing her formal black dress. Occasionally, she and the older gentleman peek at objects hidden beneath white sheets, the sale items, waiting to be displayed. To mingle with the crowd of guests, to speak to the officer at the back of the room, to approach the man in orange, to introduce yourself to the dark-suited men, to make your way towards the stage and the woman, to leave the hall and go find a place to say, I'm going to talk to the officer. I'm going to talk to the officer, because he's been mentioned before, so I might say, you officer thingy-majiggity, I'm here to pick up some stuff from the estate. You turn around and backtrack towards the entrance to the ballroom. Something about the officer by the door catches your attention and holds it. He gives off a commanding presence and his eyes bore into you intensely as you make your way over to him. As you move within earshot, he rests his hand on his baton and clears his throat. I really hope there isn't going to be any sort of problem, citizen. I wouldn't want to see anyone getting hurt tonight. His hand does not move from his baton. Make a psychology roll. Make a psychology roll, it says. And make a psychology roll I shall. What's my psychology? My psychology is 50%. 50%. I fail. 29. I rolled an 88. I can use luck. So what's that? 29, 88. Oh, that's a lot. That will use up a lot of luck. I'm not going to do that just yet. What did I say? Fail 29. The officer seems rather alert and vigilant. It would probably be best not to bother him and just let him do his job. He clearly does not need or want your help in any way. 17. You've begun gathering information in Esbury. Would you like to interact some more? You may now select another option from those listed. Do not repeat a choice already selected. Once you've chosen 3 options from the list below or before you are ready to move on. So 3 options to 3. We've done 1. Go to 35. Note that selecting to leave the hall will make you ineligible to make further selections from this list. To mingle with the crowd, to speak with the officer, we did that. To approach the man in orange, he's quite interesting. Dark suited men, to make your way towards the stage. I wonder, let's go talk to the dark suited men. I wonder if they're from another university. 60. You approach the huddled group and introduce yourself to them, stating that you recognise them from the ferry. The 2 men from earlier appear annoyed at your presence and are visibly irritated. Scram, man. We don't know you. You got nothing to do with us. The 3rd man seems likewise bothered and frowns at your intrusion. They certainly make you feel unwelcome, ignoring you in hopes that you'll just leave. The 2 men in suits turn their backs to you. You see the jacket of each suit shift oddly, as if it's ill-fitting. Make a spot hidden. Oh yeah, because they're talking to the man with narrow features, weren't they? Spot hidden. Our spot hidden is 40%. 95. Lordy, we're not particularly good, are we? If you fail, go to 40. We didn't notice the guns. You take the hint and decide to leave them be before they get truly angry. You turn back to the crowd and search for another distraction. 17. So that's our second. So this is our last one. Well, let's go talk to the man in orange. Let's go talk. Oh, we could talk to the. Let's go to the front. Talk to the woman. We might be able to get something. Let's get to see it all early. You make your way to the stage, navigating around the many guests in the dance hall. Your eyes lock firmly on the woman, and hers rise to meet yours as she looks up from peeking at one of the hidden objects. She stops what she's doing as you approach, and a smile appears on her lips as she notices that she's caught your eye. She rests her left hand on her hip as you come to stand at the foot of the stage. The old man behind her continues his inspections, either unaware or uncaring that you've come to distract them. The woman leans towards you over the edge of the stage. You can see her makeup has been painstakingly applied, despite her status as a recent widow. Oh! Is that who she is? You clear your throat as you meet her gaze and promptly introduce yourself. She extends her hand to you formally. Well, aren't you a new face in town? She teases. We get those quite a bit here. No doubt you plan to bid on some of my late husband's things. Good for you, I say. Just be sure to give a good price for little old me, all right? She winks slyly at you. You realise now would be a good time to get some more information from this woman, who might be the most well-informed regarding your interests. She certainly seems like the flirty sort and would probably respond well to more of the same. Make a charm roll. Lots of rolls at the moment. Our charm is 45. Succeed, go to 43. Fail, go to 57. So our charm is 45. 67. So 45, that is 22. 22. Oh, we've got to succeed. No, we failed. We could spend 22, which would leave us with 28. We've only got 50. No, we'll leave it as it is. We'll fail. Go to 57. You manage to smile and stumble through a compliment, and the woman laughs. Oh my! Well, aren't you the nervous sort? Don't you know what to say to a pretty woman like me, eh? That's quite all right. I wouldn't have you anyway. You're welcome to stay the sale, though. One of you, you're welcome to stay for the sale, though. And I might like you a little bit better if you're a buyer. She winks and turns around, walking back to her place on the stage. Well, we might as well go. So that sends us back to 17. We might as well go straight to 35. 35 is what we do when we run out. The murmuring of the crowd dies down and people begin to gather around the stage as Amelia and the older gentleman call everyone to attention. Did I say her name was Amelia previously? I don't remember that. The widow strides confidently to the front of the stage where the lights are centred. She flashes a broad smile at the crowd and begins to speak. Good evening, everyone. I am so glad you could all make it tonight. As you all know, my husband recently passed and, well, at this point Amelia begins to tear up theoretically, so much so that her makeup begins to smear. She produces a handkerchief to dry her eyes before continuing. Well, I'm very upset. I miss my poor William very much. And I don't know what I'll do without him. And that's why I've brought you all here tonight. I hope you can find some use for his collection. And I know that he would be happy to see his things go to those who value them highly. I hope you'll show this poor widow a kindness by finding something you like. But now, let us begin. I'll leave the auctioning to Mr. Warren. With her opening statement complete, Amelia moves to the stage left and allows the bespectacled old man, presumably Mr. Warren, to take the centre stage. He clears his throat before speaking. Tonight, we have 6 very ancient and very valuable items for sale from the estate of Professor William Harris. Though exceedingly strange, I have deemed these items to be authentic to the best of my ability. I have placed a ballot box, slips of paper, and a pencil on which each of the 6 tables next to the item for sale. If you wish to bid on any item, simply write your name and the amount you are willing to bid for on the slip of paper. Then place the paper in the box. The item will be sold to the highest bidder. All of the proceeds will go to the poor wife of the deceased. With that, Mr. William moves to reveal the gathered items. Go to 70. We'll do 5 more minutes. Mr. Warren approaches the first table and removes the cloth covering to reveal an odd pair of clay cylinders covered with strange etchings. They're small and seem quite fragile, with large cracks running down their sides. Mr. Warren proceeds to the next table and likewise uncovers the items in question. This one is significantly larger and more ornate. It appears to be some sort of altar or reliquary. Reliquary? I think that's right. Heavily decorated with yellow, green gemstones. I am educated. I've said this in previous ones. I know I read like I'm ill-educated, but I have a degree and I have doctorate. I don't have a doctorate. I have a PGCE, postgraduate certificate in education. Started doing a second degree in psychology. Didn't actually finish it. There is one similarity with the first item: the presence of the same strange written characters, though these ones seem to have been painted on. The old scholar turns to the next item in question and displays it for all to see: a decorated crown of solid bronze, wrought with the image of a Hindu god. The next item is certainly the most mundane: a large, thick, leather-bound journal that appears well worn and beaten, with several loose papers jammed between the pages. Mr. Warren senses the confusion of some of the members of the crowd and clarifies that the notebook is the assembled personal works of the studies of Professor Harris. Oh, that's the thing we might be interested in. The item that follows the journal is a well-preserved ceremonial robe of a Brahmin priest. Brahmin priest. The cloth is pure white. The last item is perhaps the strangest of all. It is a small statue or idol, presumably of one of the many deities of ancient India, made from a blue-green stone in the shape of a rather grotesque lizard-like creature. The craftsman is crude and gaudy, so much so that it appears fake. People begin moving among the items, looking them over and conversing quietly. Make either an appraise or an archaeology roll. If you succeed, go to 45. Appraise or archaeology. I think that's one of those ones. If it's like appraise or archaeology, I think you can make one roll, compare it to both, and then see how you do, if I remember rightly from the rules. Shall I quickly look it up? I'll quickly look it up. Let me pause it and then I'll tell you. Yes, if I understood that right, and I've just closed the page. The keeper may ask for a roll for multiple skills. You make one roll, and if either of them succeed, it's a success, otherwise it's a failure. So we'll make one roll. 02, I think that's well, I can check, but 02 would succeed on both, I think, appraise or archaeology. My appraise is 5%, it succeeds. Archaeology is 70%, it succeeds. Okay, well that's a success. My gosh, we've actually got a success. 02 is a really good success. Go to 45. You examine the items with the trained eye. The crown and ceremonial robe are obviously authentic and typical of what you would expect. They're in great condition and would certainly fetch a good price, though they are no rarer than any other antiquity. Likewise, Professor Harris's journal seems like it would be of value to a scholar, though a few delicate cursory page turns show that it contains personal accounts and travel logs, as well as historical relevant information. This is likely a good source of information on Professor Harris himself. However, the other items presented are noticeably different. The altar and clay cylinders bear a similar script, and both show comparable signs of aging and wear. Given this, they are likely to be fabrications, but they are unlike more traditional finds from ancient India. A close inspection of the lizard idol leads you to believe it is likewise verifiably authentic, though the workmanship is strange and unnatural, and clearly nothing like anything you've seen from ancient India or elsewhere. It doesn't bear any sign of work from modern tools, or influence from modern styles either. Go to 81. Oh, okay. Alright, we've got bidding here. You notice that you're not the only one looking over the items with such interest. The monk appears to be closely scrutinising the stranger items as well, and the dark-suited gentleman from earlier seems to have taken a liking to the curious idol. Apart from this, various other guests wander around the tables, occasionally fixing on one in particular. There are many guests and a fair number of bids being placed. If you'd like to bid on any of the items, now is the time. You'll be redirected to this entry after each choice, and you may choose to bid on any number of items. Please make each choice only once, and please note that each successful bid will lower your credit rating for further bids. Alright, to bid on, I think first off, I don't know, I think maybe that Strange Idol. That Strange Idol, which is page 92. 92. What's 92 can say? Something draws you to the curious idol. You feel compelled to make a bid. You notice that you're not alone in this, as the monk and one of the dark-suited men both place bids of their own into the books. You hope that yours is high enough. Make an appraise or a credit rating roll, both at extreme difficulty. Success only at equal to or below. Oh yeah, we know that. 1/5. If you succeed, go to 86. If you okay, an appraise. So our praise 1/5 is 1%. Our credit rating 1/5 is 12%. So we need to make 12%. I really needed that last roll. I'm going to count that as 04. I know it was a bit cocked, but it was about to roll onto the 4. And that's not cheating. 04. 04, that means we make it. We make a credit rating check, which is 86. 86. Clearly, none of the others expected anyone to pay such a ludicrous price for the crude idol. You still can't believe how much money you offered for it, but the grotesque and misshapen thing is yours now. The monk and the men in dark suits stare daggers at you, but nobody else seems to mind, or take much notice, beyond a few raised eyebrows, that anyone would pay such an excessive amount for such a trifling and outlandish thing. Still, when you look Amelia's way, you can tell she is quite pleased. Reduce your credit rating by 10% off. My credit rating now goes to 50%. Go to 81. So we have the idol. Have idol 81. This is the bidding. I think next. So we've got the Strange Idol, the journal, which is 6. You feel that the information in the journal is essential to your interests, and you can't help but make a bid. You place your paper with the others and hope that Mr. Warren calls your name when the amounts are compared. Make an appraise or credit rating roll, just plain now. If you succeed, go to 100. So plain is 50%. 20%. Oh gosh, we're going to buy everything. They're going to hate us. Go to 100. You feel that the knowledge in these pages could very well prove essential to you, so you offer a price that is more than fair. Sure enough, Mr. Warren calls your name and passes the leather-bound tome into your eager hands. Reduce your credit rating by 2%. That gets us to 48%. So we now have the journal. Go to 81. Do we want anything else? What else is there? So we have the clay, the strange clay cylinder, the altar, the crown, the ceremonial robe, clay cylinder had the painting on, didn't it? No, the altar had the painting on, the clay cylinder had the writing etched on it. Let's go with the clay cylinder. Last one on the clay cylinder, and then we'll leave it at that, because otherwise we'll have no money left. You write a reasonable bid for the pair of clay cylinders and place it in the box. Shortly after you do so, Mr. Warren clears the box and begins checking the bids. Make a hard appraise. So a hard credit rating or appraise. So credit rating is at the moment 48%. So hard is half that, would be 24%. So we have 24. 57 rather. No, we fail that. Go to 73, and that would be our sign to to stop the bidding. Though you wish to buy the curious clay cylinders, someone else has bid higher. You hear Mr. Warren announce the name Arthur Duncan, and one of the dark-suited pair approach to take the item from him. Go to 81, and then we'll finish the bidding. We do not wish to continue bidding. Go to 16. Your business here is completed. You see the crowd start staring covetously at the newly acquired items, and you spot Amelia looking smug and satisfied with a leather bag full of cash. Mr. Warren begins to clear away the tables, where Officer Powell, oh I did remember right, stands by the door and directs people out of the building and into the ever-thickening fog. I wonder if we've got enough cash left to actually stay somewhere. Though some seem content to stay and socialise, you feel that it would be better to bed down for the night. 26. Oh, that's a good point to end if we're going to sleep. While the estate sale seems interesting, you would feel more secure with a roof over your head for the night. You pull someone out of the crowd and inquire as to where you can find a room to rent. You're directed a few blocks into town to a modestly priced hotel a few blocks down from Esbury police station. As you enter it from the cool night air, you're greeted by the heat of a roaring fire. The small front room feels stuffy and cramped. The bulk of the space is dominated by a large service counter, behind which sits a wiry-looking wisp of a woman. She turns her wide eyes to you and asks your name, then quotes you a price that's more than fair. With the transaction complete, you haul your thin briefcase up the stairs, unpack it, which is just undies, and settle into your room for the night. 9. What does 9 say? That's waking in the morning. Okay. I think as Eleanor goes to sleep after acquiring the idol, the strange lizard-like idol, and the journal of Professor Warren. Was it Professor Warren? Harris. Professor Harris. Professor Warren Harris. Let's write it down so I don't forget. Professor Warren Harris. And Amelia is his wife, isn't it? For that, we'll say, job done.